forced by law to buy. And if I am forced by law to purchase insurance, then I should be allowed to see your books. There should be transparency, because I have to buy, I have to purchase this product. It's the only one I have to purchase by law. So if I have to buy it, I want to see it. I want to know where my money's going, and I want you to show it to me. But right now, they don't have to show their books. They don't have to have transparency, and I think that's wrong.
From humble beginnings, Insurance Claim HQ has grown to one of the largest property casualty firms in the country. We didn't do it alone, and you shouldn't either. Every week, we're talking to claims professionals and top experts from all over, all to help you grow your business and make you stronger. Let's level up together. I'm Galen Hair. Welcome to the Level Up Claims Podcast. Florida's insurance system is in crisis. Homeowners are being left behind. Claims are getting delayed or denied. And the professionals who actually help people, like public adjusters and contractors, are often stuck fighting uphill battles against a system stacked against them. Enter Dr. Frank Collige. He's not just a multi-state public adjuster and former state investigator, he's also a combat veteran, a business leader, and now a candidate for Florida's Chief Financial Officer. In this episode, Frank shares what it really takes to build a high-integrity, multi-state adjusting team, how his time in government shaped his approach to advocacy, and why he believes the only way to fix the system is to change it from the inside. Let's get into it. Frank, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, look, it's been great. I've had the opportunity to meet you before. Super excited about what you're up to now. But before we talk about that, let's talk about who Frank Collige is. Tell me a little bit about your military background.
I'm a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. I served in the Air Force. I was in from 99 to 2010. I got hurt and I had to separate from the military. So now I'm a disabled veteran, and that's my military background right there. When I was in the military, the first 5.5 years, I did presidential security at Andrews Air Force Base, and we guarded Air Force One for President Clinton and then President Bush. And then I went overseas to Korea, where I was a ground combat instructor, and then finished my time at Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas.
Wow, Air Force One, that must have been so cool. That's so neat. Let's talk a little bit about what you learned in the military, though. Obviously, you learned a lot in terms of job, but you also learned a lot of values. So talk to me about, could you give us an example of a lesson you learned in like discipline, integrity, or mission focus?
Okay, so the Air Force is all about integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And I've taken those core aspects and I put them into my everyday life. I'm brutally honest with people, to a fault sometimes, and then I've always been about service before self. I'm always trying to help people and not ever looking for what I can get in return. I've always helped people. And then excellence in all we do, it's all about, just striving for the best that you could possibly do, which is what makes me good in my industry. And, so it's been the concepts of being in the military has transitioned over to the civilian world. Veterans were really good about seeing a problem. We're really good about coming up with a mission to solve the objective, and just keep pushing until you do.
Now, at some point in the civilian world, when you got back, you became a Florida DBPR investigator. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So first of all, what the heck is a DBPR investigator?
All right. So Department of Business and Professional Regulation, they regulate contractors, veterinarians, cosmetologists. I mean, the DBPR encompasses many avenues. CPAs are under DBPR, alcohol, beverage, and tobacco is under DBPR. But for me, I worked under the regulation side, which I went after unlicensed contractors. My job was to, because in Florida, 489-127 says that you have to be a licensed contractor to do certain things, such as roofing and plumbing, and 531 says fully electrical. And if you don't have those licenses and you do those jobs, it's actually a criminal offense in Florida, and my job was to go after them.
Wow. And it strikes me, so one of the things, and we'll get into it more, but we hear this narrative, right? Of there's all these people, there's all these unlicensed contractors, there's all these unlicensed adjusters. They're all running around and fleecing policyholders out of millions of dollars and stealing millions of dollars from insurance companies and blah, 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 right? I get it. And it's salacious. It makes the news when you arrest these contractors and things like that. And I'm sure you've gotten some contractors arrested that maybe made the news back in the day. But I guess my question is, how common is it really? Like, it sounds like you were on the ground. Like, is the problem in Florida really, and I'm sure they exist, I'm not saying they don't, right? But really and truly, is the problem in Florida, this insurance crisis as it's being called, is it unlicensed contractors, and is it, or even any contractors at all?
Are you referring to the crisis of insurance in Florida? Or
the alleged crisis of insurance. I'm not sure it exists.
Okay, so the crisis in Florida is more of a business from the insurance standpoint. It's more of a business process instead of actual issues on the ground. And what I mean by that is the issues on the ground would be unlicensed contractors, public adjusters, attorneys out there raising rates, going after, making frivolous claims and all that. That's not what's actually happening. Matter of fact, reports have been coming out showing that even after Hurricane Ian, that carriers are denying large amount of claims. I've had claims where brand new shingles completely ripped off the roof, and the carrier says, "Oh, this is something other than wind." What was other than wind during Hurricane Ian? And so it's a business issue when CEOs and their spouses combined are making $50 million a year, but they can't pay the average claim. There's an issue. It's an issue that deals with business. Insurance has stopped making coverage decisions years ago. It's all about business decisions. That's where the whole delay, deny, defend comes from. If they delay it long enough, then what happens is they end up paying out eventually, and it's off of their interests. It's not out of their bottom line. So it's a business concept. If I can delay you long enough and then eventually pay you, I can pay you out the interest and it doesn't hurt my pocket.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right, though. Economically, that's how it's working. But Florida's done such a, I don't know if good is the word I want to use. It's not the word I want to use. It's the word I'm going to use because I have no other words. Florida has done such a good job. Let me rephrase. Some insurance companies and legislators have done such a good job of couching the quote unquote insurance crisis in terms of there's all these bad actors that are taking money from people. And the bad actors are usually, in their minds, contractors, public adjusters, and lawyers. So we have to change all these laws to prevent that from happening. So our rates will go down and claims will get paid faster. Right? I mean, that's what you saw. Didn't we all see that after Ian? Wasn't that kind of how we ended up where we are today?
Yes. Matter of fact, it wasn't that long ago where, if you had a problem with your carrier, you could file a lawsuit, and if you won, you get your attorney fees paid for it. The Florida attorney fee statute, which, it leveled the field. I mean, think about it. A homeowner who lives paycheck to paycheck going against a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they had their attorney fees, it leveled the field. Then the legislator said, "Hey, we're going to get rid of attorney fee statutes." Okay, I understand why, because of certain issues that took place. Mostly, some PAs has literally signing people up and sending it right to the attorney, and it could be crappy claims. I get it. There were some bad actors. It happens in every industry. There's some bad doctors. There's some bad attorneys. There's some bad teachers. I mean, you don't drastically change the entire landscape because of a few bad actors. But, that's what happened is, you had a knee-jerk reaction to a few of these things, and they stripped Floridians' rights to file a lawsuit. Then they actually went even a step further, and for like citizens insurance, they made mandatory arbitration. Well, right now there's a lawsuit about challenging the constitutionality. I don't think it's constitutional to prevent someone the right to go to court. But we're going to find out the courts agree with me and, agree with it. And hopefully the attorneys are successful in it. But that was spearheaded by Blazing Glaglia, who is he was just appointed the CFO. He wanted to make it to where homeowners had no right to file lawsuits. And, if you have no right to file a lawsuit, you're going to end up in a situation that Citizens is in right now, where mandatory arbitration and 99% of the claims that went in front of them, somehow Citizens won, and then they sent a bill for thousands of dollars to the homeowner, and that I don't think that's right in any aspect.
That's the wildest part. I'm glad you brought that up, because it actually was not kind of on my sheet for you, but it's something I've been watching in real time. These mandatory arbitrations with Citizens. So yeah, Citizens seems to be getting awards for attorney fees and costs, even though under the law you can't, but under that provision you can. They're getting awards for attorneys fees and costs against homeowners, against policy owners in Florida, after they win this case that of course they won because the judges are appointed by them. And then on the handful of claims that I've seen homeowners win, the arbitrators are saying we're using our discretion not to award fees or costs in favor of the homeowner. So if you win, all you get is what you owed, but then you still have to pay your attorney and anyone you hired to help. And if you lose, you actually get a bill, which is wild.
Yeah, no, it's everything is built against the homeowner right now. And, it used to be a fair playing field, and they drastically pushed it to where it's unfair. And the whole idea behind this was, if we do this, it will lower rates. Rates have not gone down. Matter of fact, there's been recent where they've applied to go even higher. I forget which carrier it is. They applied to go 30% increase. I don't know how that's going low.
Yeah, I'm not a mathematician, but usually when you say I need an increase, that does not mean it's going lower.
No. And then now they're touting, the market stabilized and rates only gone up 2%. Well, the rates are what, 70% higher than they were 5 years ago? That doesn't mean it's stabilized. A couple carriers, they stabilize and only ask for 2% increase. That doesn't mean the whole industry stabilized. And to stabilize at this high level doesn't mean much of anything either, because we got people right now that have to pick, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and then now the mortgage company comes out and says, hey, you owe this much more because escrow gone up.
Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so that's the problem, right? I think we know where we are, and I think a lot of our listeners probably kind of knew where we are, but I wanted to set the scene because otherwise it makes no sense. So what do we do to fix it? I know you're running for office, but okay, whether you get elected or not, what is the solution to the problem?
Honestly, I think establishing a board. Regardless of, I want to be the one to establish the board, but if whomever becomes CFO, I really want to see them establish a board. The board I have in mind is basically the Florida Insurance Oversight and Licensing Board. And what it does is it takes, right now, the Office of Insurance Regulation rubber stamps everything. Hey, we want to add this exclusion, rubber stamped. Hey, we want to raise the rates, rubber stamped. Policies. The law says the policy is supposed to be able to be read at like the 9th grade level. I read policies every day. They're not wrote at the 9th grade level. So why not start enforcing that law? Anyways, under the board, I want the board to be made up of IAs, public adjusters, 2 attorneys, 1 representing the homeowner, 1 representing the carrier, and 2 laymen, right? As well as a head of the board. So 9-person panel, and this is open to the public, right? So it's all open to the public. and Office of Insurance Regulation would be changed into Office of Insurance Review. So when the carrier wants to make any changes or ask for rates or anything like that, OIR will put together a report, present it to the board, and have the board be able to vote on it. Because at the board, again, it'll be open to the public. People can go there, express their concerns for or against the proposal, and the board can vote on it. And it's an equally balanced board. And then I think the board would be the best route in order to prevent insurance. I'm trying to think of the best words, but prevent insurance from running amok. And also with people who are experts on the board, they'll be able to look at proposed exclusions and be able to address those and say, hey, look, you know, this is what this will do. This is what this will do. And if the people, if Floridians still support it and the board, again, it's a balanced board and they agree on it, then it will become approved. So I think that, as well as the board will also approve licenses, because right now what happens is carriers will go insolvent. They'll leave the state for like 4 years, and then they'll come right back under another name and do it all over again. And what happens is Floridians are they pick up the bill, you know, because our taxes and everything pay for that. You know, right now a big thing on the bill that's going around is property tax. Well, yeah, our property taxes pay for this stuff, you know. So, you know, we don't have an income tax in Florida, but the taxes that we do pay pick up the bill from these carriers who go insolvent, leave the state, then come back, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, and that's a huge issue. So let's talk about that. So what do you believe, if anything, the Office of Financial Regulation should be doing for these carriers that kind of siphon money off to their executives and other companies like remediation companies and then go under?
Well, if they go under, you know, obviously we have FIGA who picks it up and all that stuff. But I also think there should be a permanent ban on any of those executive members to ever come back on an executive board and apply for a license. So it should be a permanent ban for them, because we as Floridians just paid your bills that you were supposed to be paying.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And in some of them, I mean, I think, didn't it come out recently that there had been some sizable like executive bonuses and some sizable payments to like related companies for tarping and mitigation, like unquestioned payments?
Yeah. Well,
and that Florida actually knew about it before the carrier went under.
Which is one of the reasons why I don't agree with managed repair programs, you know? Yeah. And one of the issues with insurance carriers, and this is one of the reasons they raise their rates, is you got the carrier, you got the basically the number one entity, and under it you have different entities, right? The carrier over here, they move money to this one, and then they say, hey, we're losing money. It's a shell game. If I owned a corporation and I had 4 or 5 entities underneath me, and I moved money from one into another, on paper, that one that I just moved money from is losing money. And that's exactly what happened. Is, you know, they're moving the money around from one entity to another that they control, and then they're telling the legislators, hey, we need to raise the rates because we're losing money. And so what happens is they approve it because on paper they're losing money, but there's no transparency. You know, insurance is the only industry I can think off the top of my head that we are forced by law to buy.
Yeah.
That's the only one we are forced by law to buy. And if I am forced by law to purchase insurance, then I should be allowed to see your books. There should be transparency, because I have to purchase this product. It's the only one I have to purchase by law. So if I have to buy it, I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to know where my money's going, and I want you to show it to me. But right now, they don't have to show their books. They don't have to have transparency, and I think that's wrong.
Yeah, and you said by law, and at first I started to think, no, it's by contract because it's mortgage, but no, cars. You have to have car insurance. You cannot not have car insurance, right? Yep. There actually is a loophole where you can like deposit a absolute butt ton of money with the state as a bond, but no one does that. So yeah, you're right. Like I have to purchase this product to cover me or someone else so I don't get my behind suit off, right? If I hurt someone or if something happens to me, God forbid, and I have no right to know that you're actually going to be in a financial position to pay that bill when the time comes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh.
It's the only product that we are forced by law to buy.
That's amazing. Also amazing to me that after this long a career in this field, I've never thought of that. But, you know, I guess thanks, Frank, for changing my perspective. So
I'm here for you.
I appreciate it. All right, let's do a little bit of a game. Let's do a challenge. Okay, so if you do get elected, what are the first, and I know you've previewed some things you're going to do, but I want you to put on your suit or your polo or whatever you're going to wear on day one. And what are the first 5 things you do in office?
First 5 things is I'm going to send a letter out to all the carriers and let them know that effective immediately that we are going to be issuing administrative fines for anyone who doesn't follow the law. If you are licensed, we have laws that you must follow. There's ethical guidelines. You know, for instance, if I request a copy of the policy and you don't provide one, the desk adjuster that's handling the claim will get administratively fined. And after 3 fines, I'm going to suspend your license. And then, you know, because that from day one is something that I can do from administratively. Further, second thing is anyone, carrier side or homeowner side that commits fraud will be brought up on charges, because it's all about leveling the field. It's fair. If the carrier commits fraud, right now nothing ever happens, but they commit fraud daily. If the carrier commits fraud, I'll bring them up on charges. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with someone just the other day where the carrier, he worked for the carrier, and he said, I got the evidence. The carrier told them to change the date of loss on all these claims so they can get reinsurance. That's fraud.
Yeah.
Because now they're trying to defraud their own insurance company. You know, and for the listeners who don't know, reinsurance is insurance for the insurance company. So, you know, now they're committing insurance fraud against the carrier that has insurance for them. So, you know, again, it's all about fairness. Homeowner, contractor, public adjuster, engineer, carrier, whomever that commits fraud, I will bring them up on charges, because it's only insurance is only as good as the paper it's written on, which is the policy, and everything must be done within the 4 corners of the policy. You know, there's not extra contractual stuff that you have to do. Everything's in that policy. And so if the carrier goes out of the way to prevent the homeowner from getting a fair settlement on their claim by committing fraud, I'm going to go after them. At the same time, if a homeowner goes out of the way to defraud the carrier by causing damage to their own property and we can prove it, I'll go after the homeowner. Because, you know, again, one of the issues is fraud.
Yeah.
The third thing is the whole idea behind all these legislators pushing these different statutes that got pushed out is about limiting litigation. Well, you can't. The carriers are crying, we get sued a lot. We get sued a lot. Well, part of it is also you got rid of any kind of ways to settle the claim. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to direct the board or OIR until we can get a board established, because again, this will be day one, OIR to force that appraisal provision be put back in policies. The whole idea behind appraisal is so we don't have to file a lawsuit. And if we don't have to file lawsuits, now it's not a problem, right? You know, lawsuits. Yeah, exactly. You would think, right? So why get rid of, we're having too many litigations. We're getting sued too much, but we're going to take away any option you have from selling the claim without going to lawsuit. It makes no sense. You can't have it both ways. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree.
And so day one, those would be the quickest things that I'm able to do, because all those would be administrative.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, so administratively, there's a lot that can happen from day one. A lot of it that I want to get done would revolve around legislators.
That's the long haul, right? It's the educating legislators, working with legislators, getting bills that actually make sense.
Yeah.
That protect the people of Florida, but also aren't so unattractive to insurance companies that they say we're out, right? Because we do need them.
We do need them.
You know, and there's a middle ground. And, you know, it's nice to talk to someone that gets it. I feel like every once in a while, I talk to someone that's either just so pro policyholder, they can't see the business necessity of insurance, right? Or they're so pro insurance, they can't see the fundamental unfairness that's happening to the people of Florida today.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. As a PA, I got a whole laundry list of things I would love to be able to do, right? But as CFO, I do know that we have to have carriers, because, you know, you can't, we need insurance companies in the state of Florida. You know, there's just no way around it. And so you have to be able to be in the middle. It has to be balanced, it has to be fair for both sides. And so, you know, one of the ways I want to bring carriers back to the state of Florida is Citizens Insurance. I think Citizens Insurance, they messed up when they made it an insurance company. They should have made Citizens a reinsurance company from the very beginning and have it as reinsurance for wind claims. And then what you do is you make the catastrophe fund. Well, right now it's severely underfunded, but you move the catastrophe fund under Department of Financial Services, where it's out of the reach of the legislators, and that fund will help offset any money that gets paid out by citizens. You know, and if you can tell the carriers, hey, come to Florida, because you're not going to lose money on wind claims. We got you covered because we know Florida is huge in wind, right? We got you covered. You can entice more carriers into Florida. More carriers means more competition. More competition drives down prices. So the only way to really you can't legislate lowering prices. The only way to lower prices is bring in more competition. And that's just a simple business perspective of supply and demand.
Yeah. No, I love that. All right. Well, as we kind of wrap up, Frank, tell me, what has been the most surprising thing about trying to run a business and run for office? The one thing you just didn't expect?
All the hate. I mean, I knew there would be some people that, you know, will talk about, you know, obviously you got people on both sides of the fence. You know, politics can destroy families. It's surprising, but it does. It's sad. But the fact that I get so much hate because I'm a PA, and how dare I run for CFO? Really? And even the people who are supposed to be supportive of public adjusters aren't really that supportive. You know, so that was the most surprising, is these agencies that are out there. And I'm not going to drop any names, you know, because I don't want more hate. But surprisingly, what I'm told by a couple of them is you don't have a chance because they already have their selected person. I'm like, appreciate it. You know,
meaning the insurance companies have their selected person.
Meaning the Republican Party has their selected person. Yeah. But, you know, that's fine, because every time someone told me I can't do anything, it just drives me to push harder.
Well, I love that. So
Yeah.
for anyone sitting at home that feels, man, I want this guy in office and I don't think the quote unquote selected person should get it, how can they support you?
They can go to frankforchange.com. They can share the post, they can send a donation, or they can just share the name, because at the end of the day, the person who gets the spot is the one who gets elected, and it's all about who people want. So it's the name recognition, and that's basically what it is. Spread my name, and read about it. Look me up. Go on my website. Read my post. You'll see. I'm not holding anything back. I'm an open book. Ask me questions.
Look, I've only had the opportunity to meet you a couple of times, but that's been my experience too. So, Frank, it's been amazing to have you. Before you go though, what does it mean to you to level up?
To level up, that could be that could be a lot of things, but mostly just think of where you want to go. Think of the steps to get there, and just take each step one by one. It's like the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I love that. Thank you so much, Frank, for joining us.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to thank Dr. Frank Collige for joining us on the podcast. Yes, there might be an insurance crisis, but it just isn't what everyone is saying. And as Frank pointed out, there are several easy steps, and there's a common sense, balanced approach. You can hold carriers accountable, but you can also hold people that would commit fraud, no matter what side they're on, accountable. Because at the end of the day, insurance is a product we're required to have, we need to have, but it also needs to work for us. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player.